Today we're going to do the mirror light mod on the 15 Ram here. From the factory, the mirror light only works as a directional, and there's a simple modification you can do to have that come on with your parking lights. Lots of great forums out there on the Cummins Forum showing how to do this. There's a couple of really great posts that, most of you guys will see them. I'll put a throw out to a couple of names here pretty quick, but I just thought I'd do a quick little video kind of showing exactly how to do it. It just seems a lot easier than reading some of the wiring diagrams. There's just different language and terminology in different parts of the country, so sometimes a quick little video makes it easier. I'm not the greatest at doing videos and all that good stuff, but I thought I'd give it a shot. Okay, so once you bring your parking lot wire power into the door panel, which again, I got to take the door panel off, we'll get to that. Anyway, you're going to need this Y adapter. I didn't take pictures of making this wire because there's so many out there on the forum already, and people did a better job than I did. But basically, you got one wire coming in to a diode. The stripe on the diode needs to be up towards the single wire of the mirror. Okay? This diode is basically a check valve for electricity. Power can only go this direction. It cannot backfeed down this way. That's what it is. Diode is. It's basically just like a plumbing check valve, if you will. Only allows travel one way for current. Above this diode is a resistor. That's right here. It's wrapped in shrink wrap, but that resistor is right in here, and all that's going to do is resist the electricity flow from this wire. So basically, it's going to make the parking lot light a little dimmer than this one, which is the directional light. So it'll make the directional the same brightness as it normally would, but it'll dim the parking lot light a little bit. And this is just so you can differentiate between the two. It's a good idea, and if you don't do that, they're going to be the same brightness, and it's not going to be as effective, in my opinion, as well as obviously lots of people on the forum. So anyway, this wire, the parking lot light, and this wire alone has the resistor on it. This one is basically just a diode tying into this. And the principle is you're going to have the parking lot power on going to the mirror through up here, as well as the directional wire going and feeding it. So what'll happen is this is going to be on all the time. When the blinker comes, it'll interrupt because it has no resistor and make that light blink now brighter. And because these diodes don't allow backfeeding, no power is going to go back into the parking lot feed. So that's why it's safe. That's why this works. Up here is just the two soldered together in a Y to create one wire. So basically, I'll cut the power wire going to the LED light here inside the door, attach it to this, then basically this will attach to the parking lot feed wire I bring. This one will just attach to the wire I cut at the bottom. No big deal. Okay, so underneath the dash here is where I brought my power in for my parking lights. I came through, I actually tapped into the driver's side headlight, ran the correct wire off the parking lot lamps, ran it back into here, and that's what this yellow light or yellow wire is here that I've got kind of pulled out. This is basically the wire that I'm going to use to power the diodes going to my mirror lights. I'm getting ready to do my splice into my parking light wire, and I don't want to just hack into it with the normal splice connection, so I use these Positaps. They're perfect. Basically, you unscrew it. This wire represents my parking light wire under the dash. I'm going to stick this in there like this. So now it's holding the wire in the center. It's got a little point on it. Not sure if you can see that or not. As I screw this in, it's going to perfectly penetrate the center of that wire. So now, when I unscrew this end, you'll see a metal connector in there. So I'll take the other end of this wire, I'll basically feed this end on it and splice it, or strip it, excuse me. Don't need much, just like that. So now I have this connector on here, and I'm going to push this in the bottom, and then just screw this end in like so. Now you have a connection that's permanent. This end isn't coming out. Obviously this end isn't coming out. And you've done no real harm to this wire. All you've done, I'll show you when you take this apart. The only damage you've done is you've put a hole in the insulation. That's it. These things are really good. All you do is throw some tape on there if you're done and don't need the connection anymore, and that thing is never going to be damaged again. Thanks. I'm basically going to run that wire up through here, through this boot, and into the doorway right here. So the next thing I need to do is take apart this door panel. Okay, to start taking this apart, there's a square panel right behind this handle here. You basically just take a small screwdriver behind here and pry it out. You can kind of see it's got a tab at the bottom, so you don't want to pry at the bottom. You want to pry at the sides or the top itself, and it'll pop right out. No big deal. Once you do, you've got a Phillips screwdriver right here we need to remove. Okay, there's that. Now what you have is these T20 Torx screws all the way around the door. They're in various locations. They're not your normal screw, meaning it's not like you're going to unscrew them like a normal fastener. Basically, they're like little pins. You're going to start unscrewing them. They're going to appear to be loose, and then basically you just pull them out the rest of the way. Nothing too terribly difficult, but they are a little tricky. These are those little clips that come around, go all the way around the door. There's, I think, 6 of them or something like that. But basically, this is the screw you remove. This is the little plug you're going to pull out of the hole. Basically, the principle is when the screw is inserted, it's going to do this and kind of hold pressure on the door. Okay, so once you pull this screw out, you can either get behind here, or I had to cheat and put a little screwdriver behind here. But this whole panel here, this will come out. There's a little clip here. Once those are out, you can basically lift the door panel straight up, and it should pop out. Just like that. Once you get it up like this, you gotta pull the switch bank up, just like so. Hang her back on the door. Now you can pull this out all the way and unplug the switch. Okay, we've got the door panel removed. This is where the parking light wire is going to come in through this boot and enter the door panel in here. This is the bundle of wires that goes up to my mirror light. And everybody talks about the, unplugging the black and gray cable coming in through here. What they're basically talking about is right here, this wire. I'm going to throw a test light on it and see if this does indeed turn on and off with the blinker light. They're going on and off there in the mirror. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get my test light here to go work with the blinker and see if that works. There we go. You can kind of see it right there. I'm going to cut my wire right there. Just to be certain, I'm going to turn off my hazards and make sure it's not still blinking. Okay, so here we have our wire going through that boot. I didn't film that part because, to be honest, there's lots of swearing involved. I hate working on those boots, getting them apart and snaking the wires through. It's just a nightmare. But basically, this is the wire coming through. This is power from my parking lights. That comes in, and that gets tied into the Y. It gets tied into the Y with the resistor on it, which you can see barely, but you can see the resistor is a little fat right in there. That's the guy there. You'll see my diodes have the stripe towards the mirror, because as you see, the wire is going to come through and go into the wire for the LED on the splice. The other wire gets hooked onto where you cut this wire going to the mirror. That's the other end of it right here. That just gets hooked into the other end of the wiring Y. Again, with the stripe of the diode going towards the mirror. So that's it. I don't have the parking lot light wired up yet, but the rest of it should go pretty smooth. So I'm gonna button this up, wire tie, and put the door panel back together.